Iran is being attacked because of the assumption of nuclear weapons that don't exist. And the explanation is that they have a certain quantity of uranium and they also have the knowledge to be able to build nuclear weapons. And that is the basis for this current military strike, attack, whatever verbiage you want to use. That little phrase that they like to use, assumptions, gonna make an ass out of me, you, and everybody else. I think this is the perfect example of that. So you mean to tell me that we are disrupting the Middle East in ways that I couldn't even imagine for the people that are there, all because our discussions with Iran imply that there is the potential for them to be able to develop and build nuclear weapons because they don't have nuclear weapons currently. They have uranium and they have knowledge to be able to build it. And there's confirmation that their nuclear weapons research stopped in 2003 or something like that. But I guess the United States feels like, oh, well, y'all probably working on something, so let me go ahead and nip that in the bud. Now, this is my thing. The United States does have a lot of nuclear weapons, and they have submarines, ground level type things. I think the concern was that if Iran is able to build a nuclear weapon, that they could send it across continents. I don't necessarily think that's how nuclear weapons work. I didn't think they could travel that far, but hey, what do I know? Because I'm not a nuclear weapon expert. But let's get further into this conversation. There's that young lady that works, she's like a correspondent or analyst or something on Capitol Hill, and she's always talking about what's happening on Capitol Hill, what bills they're discussing on the floor. When there's a government shutdown, she goes through what's happening day after day. She talks to these representatives and things like that. The one thing that she brought to my attention is that Department of Homeland Security is currently in a government shutdown, which is like a partial shutdown because of funding. So because they have decided to initiate all this stuff going on, military strikes and stuff like that, you realize that these people are working furloughed. They're not being paid. And the demand for their expertise and for them to actually work in their roles is much higher because of what's currently happening. So think about it this way. If you at work and them boys say you gotta wait on your check for another 2 weeks, right? You're supposed to get paid on Friday. And they told you, oh yeah, you're not gonna get it this Friday and you're not gonna get it next Friday. You're gonna have to wait another Friday. Let's add 3 weeks to that. You think they care about keeping your country secure? Do you think they care? Whatever happens, happens at that point. So what that lets me know is the person that's in the presidential seat right now has no level of compassion and is probably one of the most incompetent leaders we've ever had. And then we can get to the House and the Senate and how they want to go back and forth with all these other things. And honestly, I don't even think it's their fault because allegedly this is a decision that President Trump made without a whole lot of consulting with the House and the Senate and whomever else he got to talk to. And that is why they want to pass a bill that limits his ability to be able to make these kinds of decisions without their input. Now, I don't necessarily feel like it was time to go bounce over Baghdad. I think we could have just done some more research, did the whole spy thing, do whatever you got to do. But sending missiles or telling other countries to unite with us to send missiles is crazy. Now, I also want to bring to everybody's attention that I think I saw something that was saying Iran has Russia and China and some other people on their side. Well, you know why that's easy to do, right? Because the president that we got beefing with everybody. And then I also learned that I guess this particular experience has kind of given some insight into the possibility that China's weapon technology might not be as advanced as we think because they weren't able to intercept some things that happened effectively, or it at least showed flaws in that. I guess whatever expectation we have of their weapon collection, it didn't live up to the hype. So they're trying to imply that China might not be in the position that I feel like a lot of people put them in. My concern is the lack of treaties and alliances that used to exist prior to President Trump being in the seat, because I do feel like some of that would have been helpful for us in a situation like this. But I also feel like who would want to align with that when there is no imminent threat? Why are we doing that? Thank you for joining my TED Talk. I hope that you learned something today, because I went down the rabbit hole because I was trying to figure out, they like to tell you all these reasons why something has happened, but you got to go dig deep. I listened to a bunch of people on TikTok, but then I started doing some Google and I started reading some CNN and some articles and stuff. And I got to the bottom of it for y'all. So I hope that y'all learned something. If you have any other questions that I can go research, please leave them in the comments down below.